Hey Math 2, this is Mrs. Bricky, and we are working on topic 4 now. Topic 4 is the volume of pyramids and cones. So just for a teeny bit of perspective, last time you worked on the volume of prisms. So a prism is a shape that has the same base on the top and bottom. So like if it has a square base on the bottom, it would also have a square base on the top. And you also worked a little bit with cylinders, which, I mean, same idea, it's just that the base is a circle. So that was last time. So this time we're working with pyramids and cones. So a pyramid has a base, but instead of having that same base on the top of the shape, it has a point. So here is an example of a pyramid. And the circular version of that would be called a cone, where the base is a circle. So that's what we'll be working on this time. So welcome to topic 4. All right, so here is our first pyramid. So this pyramid has a rectangular base, and its rectangular base has dimensions 10 by 11. So the base here is 10 times 11, and we could do that in our calculator, but timesing by 10 is pretty easy. So our base has an area of 110 square inches. So now that we know the size of our base, we can find the volume of our pyramid. The volume is just 1/3 of whatever that base is multiplied by its height. So our volume is 1/3 of our base, 110 square inches, and we multiply it by the height of the pyramid, which was given to us as 16. So we can go ahead and calculate that in our calculator. 1/3 times 110 times the base, and then times by the height, 16. If your calculator gives it to you in a fraction form, remember you can just use that converting button to get the decimal. So our volume is 586.67, and that would be cubic inches because we are calculating a volume. So it's 3-dimensional. All right, next pyramid has a square base. So the square base of this pyramid has dimensions 14 by 14. So we can calculate the base. Times by 14, or in your calculator you could do 14 squared if you wanted. So our base is 196 square feet. So now to calculate the volume, 1/3, we want to multiply that by the base, 196, and we want to multiply that by the height of the pyramid, which is 24 feet. 1/3 of the base, 196, multiplied by the height, 24. So our volume is a nice, pretty 1568, no decimal there, and that will be feet to the 3rd power, cubic feet. Okay, this pyramid next is not a rectangular or square base, it's a triangular base. These ones tend to be the most tricky for people. So our triangular base right here, a little bit tricky to see in perspective like that. So I'm going to draw it out kind of flat over here to the side. It has a base of 12, and if I was looking straight on at that base, It has a height, the triangle base has a height right there, and the diagram is showing me that that's 7.5 millimeters. So calculating the area of the base here, let's see. The base is a triangle, so 1/2 of 12 times 7.5. So that's 45. All right, so now we can calculate the volume of our pyramid. The volume is 1/3, and then we multiply that by the base, and we multiply that by the height of the pyramid, and the height of the pyramid is 10. So 1/3 of 45 times 10. And that will be 150 cubic millimeters. That's our volume. All right, let's try a couple of cones. Now, cones actually work exactly the same way. There's really no difference at all. The base is a circle, so you'll see the circle area formula right there, but that's just the base. The base just happens to be a circle here. So it works exactly the same. It's 1/3 of the base times the height. Our base is just a circle. So on this first one is upside down, but that won't stop you. You can do it. Volume is 1/3. Our circle, pi times the radius squared, and then we'll multiply that by the height, 17. So in our calculator, 1/3 times pi times radius squared multiplied by height. We get 459 pi, and if I get a decimal expansion of that, it would be 1,441.99 yards to the third power. Okay, another cone, maybe. Here we go, on its side. Now, on this cone, and one thing that you always have to be careful with circles is that oftentimes you're given a diameter instead of a radius. In this case, the diameter of that circular base is 5 inches, so our radius is half of that. So half of 5, and in case you can use your calculator if you need, or if you can do that in your head, great. But half of 5 means our radius is 2.5 inches. So when we do our volume formula, 1/3 times by pi radius squared is going to be 2.5 squared, and then we'll multiply that by the height of the cone, which is sideways, but the height of that cone is 8. All right, so put that into the calculator. 1/3 times pi radius squared, and then multiply by height, 8. Okay, so we get a volume of 52.36, and that would be inches to the third power. Okay, we're just doing 2 more problems now. They're both sort of word problems, but don't be afraid of the word problems. You can handle it. On this one, we know that the cone has a volume of 13.09. So this is the total volume. That's going to go on the left side of the equation. And the other thing that we know is the height of the cone is 8 centimeters. So we know that the height is 8. Our goal is to find the radius, or solve for r. So 1/3 pi r squared, and and then we know the height is 8. So I filled in the information I knew. I knew the total volume and I knew the height. And my goal is to get this r by itself. So because r squared is in our equation, we are going to have to use a square root here. So I'm just going to show you bit by bit how I would do this. The first thing is that I don't love having fractions. So my first step is going to be to multiply by 3, both sides of my equation. So I multiply, I'm going to just write my 3's there. Teacher brain today. Let me just write that again. Sorry. I'm just writing that whole equation again. So what I want to do is multiply both sides of my equation by 3. Now I do that because this one is going to reduce, so I'm not going to have a fraction anymore. And I'm really going to do this in a lot of steps, but you could combine some of these steps if you know how. So on the left side, it's 3 multiplied by 1309. So that's going to be 3927. And I have pi r squared times 8 left on the right. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 8 now, both sides of my equation. So I'll divide this side and this side. This 8 is going to cancel out. So in my calculator, since I have that 3927 there, I can just say divide by 8. Okay, so we've got 490.875 is equal to pi r squared. Our goal is to get r by itself, and we're getting closer and closer to that. My next step is going to be to divide both of my sides of my equation by pi. So in my calculator, I'm going to say divide by pi. And starting up here again, I have 156.25, and it's probably safe to round that to the nearest hundredth there, is equal to r squared. So my very, very last step, I'm almost there, is going to be to take the square root both sides. Square root, square root. So in my calculator, the square root of 156.25 is 12.5. So the radius is 12.5, and our units here were centimeters for height, or the radius. All right, so the radius is 12.5. Lots of steps there. Do it bit by bit. You could do more steps at a time, but sometimes people run into order of operation errors when they try to do too many steps at once. Okay, last one. Caitlin must build a sandcastle in the form of a square pyramid for a project, and we've got a little diagram of that. It has a square base, 25 inches on each side, and a height of 18. She bought 3 bags of sand, and each of those bags of sand has 1,200 cubic inches of sand. Does she have enough sand to build her sand castle? So first of all, I want to think about what she has. She has 3 bags of sand, 1,200 cubic inches each. Three times 1,200 is 3,600 cubic inches. If you need to use your calculator to do these kind of calculations, by all means do it. All right, so that's how much she has. So let's figure out how much she needs based on our shape here. Well, first of all, the base of this shape is a square, and the base is, so I'm kind of figuring out the base right now. The base is 25 times 25, or 25 squared. So that's 625 square inches. So if I calculate the volume of that pyramid, it's going to be 1/3 of that base amount, 625, multiplied by the height of the pyramid, and she needs her pyramid to have a height of 18. So if we calculate that, 1/3 times by 625 times by 18, 1/3 base times height, that would be 3750. So, unfortunately, she has a little problem. She needs 3750 cubic inches, and she only has 3600, so she does not have enough. She'll either have to go buy another bag, or she'll have to make her pyramid a little bit smaller, but right now she's being quarantined, so she's not going to be able to get another bag of sand because she can't go to the store. So I guess she'll have to settle for a little bit smaller pyramid. All right, good times. Please let us know if you need any help with any of these homework problems. We're more than happy to help. Hopefully we'll be back in school before